So you want to work in big tech companies like Google and Facebook, or create your own startup like Airbnb and Instagram? OmniQuotient is here to help. OmniQuotient is an online learning platform where you can learn something new from prominent developers every day while creating meaningful connections with them. Just go to omniquotient.com. Follow the topics that you want to learn and the developers you want to learn from. Share your tips and tricks in coding and interact with other developers. Join the OmniQuotient community today.
What I've seen that hinders a lot of people in general is they believe that doing their job well actually gets them promoted.
How would you demystify AI for a 10-year-old?
It's actually harder to explain AI to an older person. Hi, welcome to CTOsDiscuss. What I've seen that
That's a nice way. That's a nice way to start. Good evening, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us this evening. This episode is part of a theme for the month of July called IT Careers, right? And today, or tonight rather, we have a very special guest. Albert, do you mind introducing our guests?
Sure, I'm actually quite happy to introduce our special guest for tonight. Because if I were to describe him, I would think that he's like one of those hyper connected, most well connected designers that I know, right? And I think like this guy is just he actually got connected with me because he just reached out, and this guy is really good at reaching out. And I think this is we will verify later, but I feel like this is how he built his is one of the pillars of his career, just really networking his way and reaching out to really cool people. In fact, he's reached out to people and connected and picked the minds of people from Google, from Uber, what else? I have my notes here actually. From Facebook, Twitter, Shopify, Dropbox, and many, many more.
Yeah.
Right now, he's actually the CEO and founder of a really cool UX Plus university. So it's a university, online only university that helps people kickstart their career in UX, UI design. And then there's actually a way, and it's pretty cool actually. The business model is pretty cool because you can either pay your way into the university or you can get in for free. You can apply and get in for free and do like an income sharing.
Study now, pay later na model. Yeah,
and I find that pretty cool because that basically opens up access to a lot of people that previously wouldn't have access due to financial constraints. So yeah, here to talk more about it. Let's all welcome to our podcast, Mr. CSJ.
Yay!
Hey everyone.
Hey,
Hi Albert.
Hey.
Hey Garb.
Hi. Hello.
Good evening.
Hello.
I guess first and foremost,
Well, Alexis just hijacked our podcast just like that.
oo nga, no. Yun yung first tanong kaagad. Siguro the first question that people want ask is like, who is CSJ, right? Like introduce yourself, I guess, CSJ, and then you can talk about UX Plus, I guess, at this junction of the podcast. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So hi, I'm CSJ. Christian San Jose. That's the full version of the name. Yeah, I'm a designer. That's how I introduce myself. I've been designing for a while. We've been doing all of this for a while. It shows in our faces how old we were. So no need to say how long we've been doing it. Other than that, I love design. I stumbled upon it through graphic design, transitioned very early on to web design because I figured, web design pays more than graphic design. It's probably the same to me. It looks the same to me. So, and then eventually, mostly I built my career in the agency space, doing my own design studio or web design company, web design development company, and then sold that, found my way in the agency world where it's more of it's not just design. It's not just the website part of it. It's like social media. It's digital. At the height of that, I went into that agency world deeper. And eventually, After 9 years or so in the agency space, I quit the agency space and now I'm in more of like the product startup space, which I've wanted to do for a while. So started with First Circle, which is a fintech company. Joined that company, and then now I have my own startup, which is kind of like a traditional plus new version of an education company, which is essentially like we teach UX live through Zoom every day for 2 hours part time. And our 30 plus students learn UX in 4 months. And essentially, after they graduate, most of them actually only pay when they get hired. Some of them paid tuition upfront, but those that couldn't afford it or at the time can pay their tuition when they get hired, which is like our motivation. Like we want to teach them skills,
Right.
knowledge, all the soft skills, hard skills that gets them hired. So we also talk to these partners that are mature in terms of their design process, their understanding of UX, that could appreciate some students that go through our program. So we try to connect those two because it was generally something that was missing in my career and in many design careers as well, like that formal education, especially like if you just do a quick Google search of how much design boot camps costs, it's 7,000 to 15,000 USD, which is 1 to 2 years worth of UX designer salary even before they get their first job, which is crazy. So we wanted to make it accessible, affordable, and I guess like my whole career led to this. I've been teaching for a while. I've been giving talks for a while. I just love like sharing my story, I guess, to people starting out, and then this is
Yeah.
the eventual version of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you have basically like found a problem that you encountered, like,
Right.
access to a design
Mhm.
education is expensive or difficult,
Mhm.
and then you have the solution. But
Mhm.
obviously, UX Plus University can't like cater to everyone just yet, right? Like you have
For
certain
sure.
batches, you're limited, and so there's still a lot of people who kind
Mhm.
of like have to figure out how to become a designer.
Mm.
What's your advice for them? Maybe talk about like how you got started, how you overcame your own problems when you were still starting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So essentially, again, like I started my design career like I don't know if you could call it a career back then. I didn't think it was a career of me at 13 or 14 years old. So like many years ago. Um, just designing basketball wallpapers, basketball signatures for
Wait,
forums.
wait, you
So this
started at
was,
13, 14?
yeah, around that time, probably
High
Wow.
13 or
school.
14 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Early high school. Yeah. So that was probably 2000, I don't know, two. Uh, is that
How
correct?
do you get into that
13. Yeah.
hobby? Like how
Yeah.
do you get into that? Like were you just
Yeah.
into doing design or drawing as you were a
Yeah.
kid, ganun ba? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Like when I was a kid, I joined on the spot painting contests. Like I didn't know like it was a talent. Like
Oo.
I just copied from what people were doing and I got into it, but I wasn't really great at illustrating on my own. I
Mm-hmm.
like to copy, and I was kind of like quiet, creative kid, and I shifted from being the guy that when there's a contest, like they would pick me like in grade school, and when I was in high school, when there was I'd say something to do with computers, like I was that kid. So I shifted like from grade school to high school to the nerd. Really, like
Mm.
I was the head of the IT club. Like remember when those were a
So you
thing,
were
like IT
programming.
orgs. Mostly just like a nerd. I can tinker around or I can work my way around computers,
Mm.
like software probably. Like I
Okay.
was hacking, assignments like those what do you call that? Like terminal, and then you have to create folders in terminal
Okay.
in Windows. So there wasn't terminal. I don't know what you call that. Like MS
Command
DOS.
prompt.
There you
Yeah,
go.
MS
Oo,
DOS.
Command
oo.
prompt MS DOS. So there were
So
like lessons in yeah, like grade school or high school, early high school assignments about MS-DOS, and like create a folder, create a file. And I was like, I was too smart for my own good that I knew how to minimize MS-DOS, and then I just created a folder on the desktop. Like,
Yes.
why would I do the command prompt? I can right click new folder, right click new file, and I finished the assignment quickly. So I was that like stubborn, nerdy kid that knew too much, and I was giving cheat codes to my classmates just like that. So I eventually found my way to be the president of the IT club when I was in high school, like for 2 or 3
Cool.
years. Yeah. So
And then for
that's how I got
college,
into
you did
computers. Yeah.
IT. Nag-IT ka, yung course mo?
Computer science, because like
Okay.
you'd think, right, like, oh, he's
Mm.
the yeah, like our kid, like my parents, our kid is great at computers, he should enroll in computer science. I also like applied for fine arts. I wanted that more, but then
Oo nga,
maybe
no?
computer science,
Tama.
I could have I could have an easier time, because like I knew what fine arts was like. Yeah, you'd have to do drafts, and I wasn't really great at illustration. So, but I wanted that more. But then I was led to computer science. But then, like, was when I was in computer science, I figured right away that, oh no, like I actually don't know how to do computers, because all my classmates knew how to do what were that, like programming, all these Microsoft page builders or whatever, like
Mm.
yeah, all those software, like like real programming. I don't even know if it's C sharp or something. All of them knew already, and like, how did you know? Like, that wasn't taught in the lesson. Why is that the assignment? Like, so I dropped out. Like, I didn't really know how to code, because thinking
Mm.
back when I was in high school, actually, yeah, I was the one designing the backgrounds of the software, the buttons, like the images being exported from Photoshop. I was the design guy of the software that everybody else coded. So I
Mm.
thought I was like good at like all of those things, or I can cruise by. But I figured out like, oh, I'm not technical. I'm just
Yeah.
more visual, because
Well,
yeah, like
apparently good enough to
yeah.
be IT president of your club.
Yeah, like get excuse a lot. But as an IT president, all you have to do is create wallpapers for all your computers. Like, do the burn CDs for third year and fourth year high school prom. Like, ano na yan, that's it. That's all you had to do. Yeah. So basically, that's that's what I did. Like,
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
was good enough for that.
I'm
Yeah.
curious. I'm curious. Like, when was your first few, tastes of getting paid for something?
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mentioned I was doing basketball wallpapers, or
Mm-hmm.
like basketball forum signatures. I was doing that because I found a tutorial on how to do Photoshop. So eventually, like, I learned how to do Photoshop by just being active in this one forum, and then I felt like I was good, and then I posted it in DeviantArt. Like, that
Yeah.
was probably
Oh,
like
okay.
Yeah.
second or third year high school, um, and people liked it. Like, they had favorites or the likes
Mm-hmm.
back then. They followed me, and people started messaging me if they wanted to, if I could do websites for them. So I first got started probably in 2006, designing landing pages for these Australian companies, and they were paying me like one page websites, like 5,000 pesos, one
Quick
hundred
question.
dollars.
You designed it, but
Yeah.
did you have to code it yourself?
No, just
Oh, just
design. They hired
design.
me for design. So I started pretty
Nice.
early, like at 2006, which is probably, I don't know, 17, 16, 16
Yeah.
years old, maybe.
For a
Yeah.
hundred dollars, how long did it take you to make this design?
Probably like one day, probably overnight.
Oh
Like,
man.
so yeah,
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 for a
probably
hundred
back then.
dollars, that's exactly how much I charged for my first website project freelance. Like,
Yeah.
that's how much I
Yeah.
charge. No, I charged actually 4,000 pesos. I still remember, and it took me at least 4 months to complete.
Oh
So
my.
no.
so
Ang
so
tagal.
you've got your unit economics right from the very start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yung
I,
sa
I
akin
I had no
naman, parang
idea.
thesis projects, ganun din yung rate, around around that rate. But it took me like
100.
a week.
Yeah.
Mga side hustles natin dati, no?
Yeah.
Yo,
They,
one
they, they
day.
were they were the one, yeah. They were the ones that priced it. I didn't know how to charge. Like, we'll give you $100. Really? Like, how do I get the money? Like, I didn't have PayPal. They used
Interesting.
Zoom, XOOM. And then
Mm.
it just like, but by that time it was basically they would like some guy in a motorcycle would go to your house and give you the like the converted cash version of the $100.
That is very
And then
interesting.
yeah, that was Zoom XOM back then.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's how I got paid.
we don't do that anymore. But yeah, that's very interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
pull out a nugget here for the people watching. I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I'm seeing that okay. One thing you could do to boost your career is to post your work, right? Like you were doing this in
Yeah.
forums, you were doing this in DeviantArt, and that's how
Yeah.
you expose your work out there, and
Yeah.
then that's how you get opportunities.
Yeah, post your work and be a part of the community. Like
Hmm.
be like feel like I wasn't thinking about it back then as like, oh, this is a community. Everything now is, oh, let's build a community. Let's build like what's this UX community, dev community, or something like that. But back then it was just a forum with people that designed wallpapers, or
Right.
DeviantArt was a website of artists, and I was, as much as they were interacting with me, I was interacting with them. I was giving feedback, like you'd
Mm.
call it feedback, but I was just commenting, oh, this is awesome, or this is nice, or like what's the font, or like how did you do this. So invest your time in, and it will come back, I guess. Like if you're somehow genuine, or somehow you could do that in many locations now. UXPH, if you want to be a UX designer, or anywhere elsewhere. Yeah,
Yeah, what are
just
the
share.
famous top platforms now? Counterparts. I'm not so sure if DeviantArt is still quite the
Andyan
place.
pa rin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's more of anime now.
Yeah.
But I guess like Dribble,
Dribble.
Twitter's good. Like if you follow good
Okay.
people and then you get connected with them, like
Okay.
like I never felt the feeling of being in the Philippines was a hindrance.
Mm-hmm.
I think like
Mm.
that seems like, oh, nobody will talk to me because I'm in the Philippines. I didn't care. Like I could just message somebody, and maybe that was like how I got started, or like how it felt more natural to me, because back then I was messaging in Yahoo Messenger or like MSN chat, like random people from all over the world. It was just natural, I guess. So I didn't feel like, oh, like I don't want to bother them, or I don't want
Mm.
to I guess like oh, who am I to speak to them? It was just like, like
Ah.
message someone, like, and be genuine. Like don't you can, of course, looking back, hindsight is 2020. You can create like great quotes based on what I'm saying right now, but basically if I can go back to that, I was giving more than I was taking. Like if you
Mm.
feel like you need something, that like I see this a lot from students, right? Or like early in career designers, or anyone in general, where how could I find a mentor, or like how could I want to ask help from this person, I really admire them. It's more of like, how can I find a mentor? It's not really that. Like just interact. Like you don't find the
Mm.
mentor. Like there's no official title. You just give to them, or be helpful to them, and then they'll be in your radar. It doesn't matter if you're like someone that's just starting out, or someone that's been at it for 5 years or 10 years. It's the
Yeah.
same. Like if someone approaches me and they stand out by not copy pasting like a message on my email, or like just messaging me and just being there, like I'd have more of an affinity to them, so that when I feel like, oh, like who's that person that messaged me? I saw some of their cool work. Maybe I can get to hire them or work with them. And that's possibly how some of my relationships with younger, early in career designers were. Like basically, I didn't care like how old they were. It just mattered that they were interacting, or they cared for what I did, and I cared for what they care for.
Yeah.
It's more of that.
This is really
Yeah.
interesting that you talk about like give more than take, because this is counterintuitive, right? It's almost
Yeah.
Mhm.
like getting ahead by giving more than taking is
Yeah.
not like doesn't make sense immediately.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
how can I get ahead if I'm just like constantly contributing to others? Paano naman ako, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But if
true.
you think about it, right, it's like it's always like this is a bad way of putting it, but it's always like what's in it for me, 'di ba? You really have to
Mhm.
provide value, or in fact not even provide lang, siguro show value, right? Like have a
True.
portfolio or communicate to them, no? Be in their radar, I think, no? Cuz you know, best kept secrets are secrets, right? Hindi mo sila makikita
Yeah.
kung talented ba sila or hindi, ganun, 'di ba? So you could
Yeah.
either provide value or showcase your value, right? I
Yeah. Don't
guess
sell. Yeah. Yeah,
oo.
like when reaching out to someone, just don't sell. Like you don't have to say, "Oh, I'm a designer. Like I can design for you." Like I don't. People have an auto ignore for that in their
True,
brains.
true, true, true,
Like
true.
whenever someone messages, like I can design flyers, brochures, or like I can design websites. Check out our company. Like I have like an auto mute or auto delete, auto like unfriend for like LinkedIn for those people. It's more of
Yeah.
like I'm easy to approach, but you don't have to sell to me. Like if you're genuine, like you can, if you want to reach out to anyone. And I did it myself. Like I'm just it's always good to have a warm introduction or someone introducing you, but you can't be afforded that always because we're in the Philippines. Like what if you want to connect to someone that you admire in elsewhere? So I tried to hack my way around that. Now in my like later in my career, um, like I always wanted to be in Silicon Valley, or I always want to be in like that energy, that vibe, and I could possibly always do that before the bad times, before the
Before the bad.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but
I'm curious, like
yeah,
how would somebody like let's move backward in time 10 years ago, right? You're giving advice to your
yeah,
well, you don't need to give advice to your old self because you were naturally doing that. But for somebody right now, right, younger,
mhm,
10 years younger, he's trying to figure out like how do I reach out to people? Intuition comes in as like let me sell myself, let me see, let me tell them like what I can contribute and what my skills are. But you're
mhm.
saying like don't exactly sell yourself. So how do I reach out?
Yeah. So I'm just coming up with this now, but
Sure, sure.
basically it's like
Marami
people
nagta-take
have
down notes
different
diyan.
shields.
Okay.
Like
Totoo,
people have
totoo.
different ano such channels nila. Parang shields, or how they perceive different channels. So if it's in LinkedIn, it's all like no selling. It's more of like just network, and they have their shields up probably most of the time. Na parang I don't
Yeah.
want spammers. I don't want people selling me property. Like I don't care a lot. Like yeah, that's LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then Twitter, it's more of like casual, right?
Okay.
So like you don't need much I guess common understanding of who's commenting on you. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't care. Like if we have the same wavelength and they comment, oh, I'll check them out. Like oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like this seems pretty cool. I'll follow back. Or so it's more relaxed, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, I don't typically add people that one like I totally don't know, or like I haven't heard of, or haven't contributed in communities that I know of. Probably it's more of like a lot of people would add you. So emails is kind of tricky because if you're selling through email, it's like hit or miss. So
Totoo.
yeah, like it's um, if it's looks like a sales call, or like it looks like you want time from someone, it's like it's a hard no, right? Like, hey, do you
Mm-hmm.
have an hour to like nobody like is going to give you an hour, right? But if you're gonna like you can hack around things, like you can be warm on Twitter and then do something like email them something on email. Email them something like, hey, check hey, I thought you'd like this, or I thought you'd find these cool. Saw you talking about this. Bye. Like just like something short, sweet. Just like
Yeah.
to yeah, just get away from the noise. Yeah, like do that on LinkedIn. Don't sell. Just um try to have the most genuine as you can, like in the internet age, the most genuine conversation you have, and you can probably network better. It's more
Mm.
about that. If you have some leverage, always like if you have a podcast and then invite them in, or if you have like something like try to build leverage, whether it's your career or like something you're doing, and then make sure like something you're doing is like fits whoever you're trying to invite, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah,
I did that like yeah, go ahead.
No, so far, I mean, I'll let you go on after this, but what I'm picking out so far is like number one, like don't go like for big like commitments right away, right? Like first email, first reaching out, first wherever it is, Twitter, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
email, first agad like, give me 1 hour of your time, give me like let's do a call, like
Yeah.
no, don't do
Yeah.
that. Like just figure out a way to get into their radar. So what I'm picking up from you is like send like bits, interact with them, send them
Yeah.
messages, say hi, say what you appreciate, maybe give like
Yeah.
feedback, which is just interaction.
Mhm.
And then second is like sort of like consistency, which makes me think of
Mhm.
like use the algorithms to your favor. So comment when they have a Facebook post, like comment and say like, oh, this is pretty cool, and do that like many
Yeah.
times, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
genuinely, right? Like that,
Yeah.
not like
That's the
just
thing I was gonna
mindlessly,
say.
but genuinely
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
interact, and that would bring you into the radar,
Mhm.
which doesn't mean that they will notice you, but part of them already feels comfortable with you.
Yeah.
So later on, maybe if there is a, it's easier to like later on have a like step into slightly more commitment and interaction and
Yeah.
meeting up per se. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
what I
for
got so
sure.
far, which I think is,
Yeah.
I think I could use some of
Yeah.
that advice as well.
For sure. And also like then if you want to, it's like the I never read the book, but like I probably just watched a clip of Gary Vaynerchuk of the jab jab right hook. It's your
Mm-hmm.
jabs, right? Like jab jab jab.
Mm.
You
Mm.
you might never have to do your right hook of basically finally I need something from this person, but just
Yeah.
keep jabbing, right? Like
Mm.
for no reason, even if you don't feel like you're gonna need them. It's more of like just you're building your circle. You're building. It's not you're building a circle of influence. It's just like a circle of relationships.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's gonna come back to you or not, you just want to be surrounded with people. And like one interesting thing, like what if I'm introverted, or what if I'm I don't like talking to
Yeah.
people. I have done so many like all of those like personality tests. Like I'm right in the middle of introversion or extroversion. Like I
Mm.
feel like I want to be home. Like before, like I wanted to travel, but like travel alone or travel with just one person. I don't like large groups. I don't like parties. So I'm leaning towards more of the introversion. So took me a while to be comfortable on video, even like when all
Mm.
of this started out, like the um Zoom or like shooting, like I've always wanted to start a YouTube channel, but like what can I say, like I'm not even comfortable looking at the camera, but like it just takes practice.
Mm.
So you don't have to be totally extroverted to do all of this. Like it's you can live within your means or your um, whatever you're comfortable with. You don't have to. What I'm saying is more of what worked for me. I'm not
Yeah.
preaching this that this is the way for
Yeah.
success. It's more of like if you feel like you don't have to network and you're successful in other ways, like smaller circles, more genuine, more investment in that smaller circle, that totally works. But that's how I like figured out like what's good in my career so far.
Right. Right. I think just to add, no, I guess it should be a given that you actually are quite skilled at or good at what you do, right? I mean,
Mm.
jabbing and jabbing could get pretty annoying, right? If like you're
Mm,
not, yun na nga, balik nga dun sa providing value, right? And I think like what
yeah,
Albert mentioned earlier na what's most important actually is genuine. No, kasi I think
yeah,
people would also see through you and ano, this guy wants something from me. And kumbaga pag titingnan ko naman yung profile niya, parang okay lang, parang ganon. So, I think yon have to be good at what you do. Same time network, definitely, definitely. Curious, by the way, on this note, when you say network, because at the start of your career, ba, it was more on freelancing. Like you wanted to
Yeah,
be connected with.
freelancing.
I see, I see. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Like I follow the trail of money. Like I started as an illustrator and then graphic designer, and then what? Like you could earn the same thing I'm earning, but I do it for 2 weeks in illustration for websites. What? I could do that for in 2 days, 3 days. So like designing websites, like I forced myself. Like how I got lucky was I had a portfolio with some basketball wallpapers and basketball websites I did for free back in the forum days, and then someone that was looking for a logo for an athlete, baseball athlete, hired me
Mm.
when crowdsourced designs for a thing, like
Mm-hmm.
speculative work, basically design contests, like you join, you win if you're lucky, and then you wasted your time if you don't win. Those 99 designs, those like crowd spring, like those were the thing back then. So I joined contests like that and found my way, like designing a logo for an athlete, like a baseball guy. And they checked my portfolio after project was done. They saw that I did websites, and they asked me, "Oh, would you
Mm.
do you want to work for Kobe? Like, do you want to design Kobe's website? Like, Kobe, there's only one Kobe. There's Kobe Bryant. Like, I literally Kobe Bryant game. Like, yeah. So that's how like I got totally lucky. Like, it's not that like I was skilled or like exceptionally this or that. It was just like I was lucky, and then I had to live up to my luck. Like, okay, like I don't know how I got this, but I have to be really good now. Like I can't be late to when I deliver. I can't be this and
Yeah.
that. So it
Yeah.
builds you up. Like, okay, like people have different expectations of me. This has to be the best thing I've ever done in my whole life up to this point. Like I was 21, so I'm
Wow.
32 now. So that was like 11 years ago. I was 21 when we designed Kobe's website, um, and that led to different projects like
Yeah, yeah.
logos, foundation websites, websites for the same people in their network, which was Dwayne Wade, Usain
Crazy.
Bolt, even Usher. I was like, what am I doing? What the hell? How did I get into this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Galing,
Yeah.
galing, galing.
I know you
Yeah.
mentioned luck, but I'm gonna say that you you had to get yourself to a place in like that crowd spraying 99 designs place. You had to have your portfolio also set up to that
Correct.
point.
Correct.
And yes, of
Correct.
course,
That's
luck
true.
played into it at that point. But if you didn't put it out there, then you would have no luck at all. Like you
Yeah,
wouldn't even
yeah.
have that chance, right? So
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
compounds. It
you're right.
compounds definitely. Yeah.
So I think advice for everybody. I mean, luck will play out differently for different people, but
Yeah.
you got to
Hmm.
put yourself out there for luck
Hmm.
to even like, have a chance per se
Yeah,
You
to
have to
that's
swing the
operate.
true.
bat. You
Exactly.
have to swing the bat,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
like people really need breaks, right? Like you
Hmm.
you hear it from the best of the best, right? They always say, "I got lucky, I got," but in reality, it's you have to be good, talaga, and you have to show up
Yeah.
when those opportunities come up. Just like how you
Hmm.
said it earlier, no, when you got that Kobe deal, it's like, how did I get myself into this situation? Pero totoo, you have to
Yeah.
really show up, no? And if you don't kasi,
Yeah.
then that's probably your break and you wasted it, right? But
Yeah.
after that break, you do good, most likely it would spread, like, right? Kobe
Yeah.
yun eh, 'di ba? Galing,
Oh,
galing.
parang you can leverage. So you're building leverage, right? Like anything you're doing in the past, like I lived off that Kobe project for maybe 5 years, or like not lived off financially, but like lived off in terms of I did Kobe's project, like, can I do your
Yeah, yeah.
website, or like something like that. That used
Totoo,
it like
totoo.
as heavy leverage, and then like it was my goal after a while, like 4 or 5 years, 6 years, that okay, like I did Kobe's website, and like I want to be known for something else. or like I don't want it to be forever my calling card, because like maybe there's something bigger, because I've milked that cow so much already that okay, like yeah, like maybe there's something more. And I think I watched too much Shark Tank when I was younger. But like, and then also like I idolized people like Steve Jobs, like read the book,
Mm.
watched all the different um the dramatizations of their life, like all the movies. Like there was this old Steve Jobs movie, and I gravitated towards that. I thought that was management. Being angry and shitty was management. Like, and I was like that when I was younger, because like very early on, I needed to start a company, and
Mm.
like I idolized bad people. Like looking back, like bad people, but I thought they were good back then, like
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, or like Elon Musk, or like you have to be eccentric and loud and like opinionated, and then your way or the highway kind of way. And I learned a lot. Like it took me many years to realize I was shitty as a manager. I was good as a designer, and I was bad as a leader, manager. Like I thought, like to command respect, you have to be feared or something like that. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty bad,
Yeah.
yeah. But outside
Oh,
of that,
maybe
like
let's
it just yeah,
touch on that. Let's touch on that. Like there might
yeah.
be
Go ahead.
people here, managers or design managers managing designers, like
Yeah,
maybe they feel like the eccentricity should be there, right? Because these are the what media portrays
creatives.
very
Yeah, yeah.
frequently, right? Like
Correct. Correct.
eccentricism, like extreme, like the like sort of like
Authoritarian.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so like genius, like that people
Hmm.
everybody can't understand and you just have to follow them and it'll work out in the end. So what are the learnings you've learned so far?
Yeah. I've learned it most of my majority of my career. I've been bad, so I have a lot of learnings. Like honestly, like possibly like you get different advice, right? You either
Mm,
connect or like build a relationship with who you're managing or your employees, or
uh-huh.
you totally don't, and then just let you separate yourselves. They respect you more actually if you don't have a relationship. They don't like people are different. They might manipulate that relationship. So I got very
Mm,
different advice when I was younger, and I
mm,
gravitated to like I did both actually. Like I didn't gravitate towards one or the other, but then the whole time I was shitty. I was yelling. I was this bad manager. Alexis knows that. Like I was super bad when he was an intern in
mm.
2015. Like I yelled at that company. Like I yelled at him, but he learned from me. So maybe it worked. Like throughout the time, like like we're great friends now, and he's off to great things. But it like for more like majority of the people, they didn't like it. It
So
worked for Alexis.
if you could go
Yeah.
back, would you do things differently?
Yeah, for sure. Like have more empathy. I'd have more
Mm,
um, listen more to people, not judge them. Like not be yeah, like not be bad. Essentially, not be um, yeah, because it's like people, you don't know what people are going through. Like maybe it's just
mm,
a job for them, or maybe it's like they're really passionate about something. So it's really understanding them as people, like what their motivations are. It's really having great conversations and caring for what they care for, even
right.
if it's beyond the job. It's like really like it's your it's not a family, of course. It's not this or that. So you have to be in the middle of like don't get too close, but then give them space to you don't have to be totally friends with someone. Like know where the boundaries are, but it's better to have real relationships with people that at least you know what they're going through when they're back home. Like at least on that level, you don't have to be a kuya or like
Mhm.
some other figure, family figure, but it's more of like just caring for people, like
Right.
caring. And I didn't do that for a while. I just cared for their deliverables, and then and then like the pursuit of greatness as a designer, like that's what I cared for them. So I was mentoring them in that mold, but not really in other manner. And
Mm.
I like it's hit or miss. Like I'd say I only learned that maybe less than three years probably, or 4 years, because I was like in 14 or 15 years I've done this, like I've tried different things. So yeah, just genuinely care. That's it.
Got it.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Interesting.
I have another question. So backtracking a little bit to, you have to be good, right? You have to provide value. What can you
Hmm.
say to people who are sort of starting out, lack a bit of confidence in what their skills are, or truly early on their skills are not yet mature, right? So they're just
Mm.
starting out. There might be some hesitation to put their work out there, right?
Hmm.
To like, kasi medyo hindi pa siya perfect, hindi siya maganda, it's not yet good enough.
Yeah.
What can you say to these?
It's I didn't know. I guess like I was always seeking feedback because that was the medium of the channel back then. Like say for example, back then in DeviantArt or like wherever you post, whether it's like wherever you post on, whether it's Dribble or elsewhere, it's more of like the mechanism I followed back then, or Tumblr or multiply.com, was that like if I post something and I get likes, oh, I'm doing something good or bad. Like
Mm.
doesn't get like, so like I use that as feedback, and if many people commented, I was doing something good, so I'm gonna do more of that. So I didn't care if I was putting out good things. So I generally know, I feel in myself that I did something better, but people might not think otherwise. So I was always seeking something better. Like I could be better. So it's I carried that over from illustration to graphic
Yeah.
design, and then graphic design to web design and development, and then UX. Like I'm not the best UX designer. I'm not great at like interviewing or UX research or UX strategy. But I know enough that I can talk about it, I can sell it, or I can be um, that bridge between, say, someone that doesn't understand it and the people that are doing it, which I've done for a while, or like I can teach it. So it's more of like just being vulnerable, showing your feedback, and like, and then keeping track of your own progress so that you know that you did something quantifiably better, or like you
Mhm.
can identify that you did something better. Like you can't really, it can't be subjective that oh, I tried something new, it might not be better than the previous one. So I was just like always keeping up with myself, like that was like what I was focused on, to make myself better by doing something better than what I did previously. So doing that, and then showing it, and then showing it, and then
Okay.
feeling the room. Yeah, that's what I did.
Let's put some timeline scale on this one. Like from when
Mhm.
you started initially posting into these online forums to the point where you got lucky and got hired for Kobe.
Yeah,
How long was this time? How long have you been
probably.
posting?
Yeah, probably like 2000s. I was in the forums like doing basketball wallpapers 2004 to 2006, maybe
Hmm, two
2006 to
years.
Yeah.
2007, and then 2007 to, I don't know, 2009 maybe DeviantArt. So I was like
Okay.
earning money, and then
That's 5 years.
2000,
Yeah.
yeah, around 2011 I got the Kobe Bryant job. In between, I was freelancing doing T-shirt designs. I did an illustration for Adobe in 2009, maybe 2010. So I used that as my leverage back then to get other work. I
Got
thought
it.
that was like the pinnacle of my career. Like, oh, I got featured by Adobe. I was in like Adobe CS4.
Cool.
Like yeah. So, but then I used that as leverage. Like, I could do this or do that, or
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
was just trying to find like who will pay me more next time. Like how will I get more money? So as a kid, you don't really, you can be too strategic, or if you're starting out, like it's just like finding opportunities, taking those opportunities, and like living up to whatever expectation you set yourself up for. It's just
Yeah.
that, and then being better, holding yourself accountable to be better than what you were previously. So yeah, that was probably from 2006 to 2011 maybe, and then 11, that's a Kobe Bryant website. 15,
But you
I sold
started the
my, yeah.
wallpapers 2003, right? 2003.
2004 around that time. Yeah.
Okay.
Before that, I was doing The Sims houses. Like I was uploading uploading custom lots, and people were downloading it. So pretty early on, I was used to the internet and showing my work, and then people
Yeah.
downloading.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, but
transferred medium to
this
medium.
is 6 to 7 years, right? 2004 to
Yeah.
2011. That's 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
7 years.
so yeah, seven
Yeah.
years into your sort of career, that's
Yeah.
when you got like this. Then the big, much bigger break
The break. Yeah.
that you got.
Yeah.
I think that's important to note because most people don't know that it takes. They give up second 2 years pa lang, nothing happens.
Yeah.
I'm already like I'm no good. I will never amount to anything. Right? So
It takes a while. Yeah.
it takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And that time
you
then is
feel
need-
like it's
ano
very
eh. Go
important.
ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that time is also needed to hone your craft, right? I think
Mm-mm.
one thing that you said earlier, and I want to provide some more importance to, is joining communities nga and getting feedback. No, it's easier now than before. Di ba? Before nga, meron
Yeah, for
nang
sure.
ganon. But now, like there's groups on Facebook, right? Post your work
Mm.
there. I think the grind is really a grind, and it could be 3 years for some, 7 for some, but it is a grind, right? And you need that grind to kind of, polish everything, your tool set, ikaw mismo, your skills, etc. And like, do
Yeah.
you even, like right now, ikaw ba, do you go back to your previous work? Like, do you like compare where you've been like 5 years ago, this was your output, and then ngayon, compare mo ba? Ganon?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
I have a talk that I talk about my
Parang
design career.
self-critic. Go ahead.
I don't really critique. It's more of like I have a talk that I show my old work, so I'm pretty familiar with my my own work before. I know, like I kind of have a like how I design websites now, which is very different from how I designed back then. Very more UX rather than the way I did back then, which is me just trying to guess or like trying to treat it as a Photoshop file. Has to be pretty. Like you export it by slicing the Photoshop file. So like the rules are very different. Like I'm trying to learn also. Like I'm trying to grow every time. Like I only learned Webflow last year, for example, and then I only learned like some of editing videos or like After Effects I learned late last year. So I'm always learning. Like I always want to be better. I learned no code late last year too. Like
Yeah.
mid last year probably. Like no code like Zapier, Airtable, all the fancy things. So I'm
Yeah.
always learning. It's more of like, hey, like how are these people so awesome? Like how can I be like them? It's more of how can I know what they know? Like I want to absorb. Like I'm always in that pursuit of even like after many many years, like I always still want to learn. So I think that's part of it too. Like you don't I don't learn for others, or I don't learn like when I make a website, for example, like a new UX Plus conference website. I'm trying to impress. Of course, like you always want to impress people, but I'm trying to have this website kick my previous website's butt. It's more of that. Like how can I how can this be
Galing.
so awesome? Like
Yeah,
so
that's a good mindset. Yeah, yeah. Always beat your previous work, parang ganon. Do better, no? Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. Always a common
But
theme, by the way, no? Learning.
but how about
Yeah. Go ahead, Bert.
like when you said you're learning After Effects, which I feel like is kind of like a separate field. Like this is more of like animation and video,
Yeah.
right? So there's an
Yeah.
element of like newbiness. You're a
Yeah,
newbie
every
in that
time.
area, right? And then
Yeah.
so your initial work it's like doesn't compare to the awesomeness of your current work in the other field, which is like graphic design and websites. How do you deal with
Yeah.
that? What do you do there?
Yeah, it's more of after a while, like you'll build um your taste or your palette essentially. So it's not probably gonna suck as bad as someone that's just starting out completely, but it's gonna take a professional 3 days, and it's gonna take me 3 weeks. So it's more of that, like trying to get over that hump. So what I do is like I'm
Mm.
gonna try it once, and then I would know now how to direct someone. Like I'm trying to absorb enough info so that I can now work with someone that really does this for a living, and then
Yeah.
have a better conversation with them. Or like oh, check out what I did. Oh, like I love what you did. Can you do something? I know you can do this better. Can you try something like that? So that's how I like also network, because I know I can't do everything. I try to, but as you grow older, like you know that you have to delegate, and delegation is better, and everything's better. So it's more that I guess starting out, you have to know what your limits are and know where to invest your time. Is it you're gonna invest your time if you after a while, like after you get old, like all of us, um, is it
Priorities.
worth it to invest? Yeah, my time doing this to its completion so that I'm the best at this? Or should I know enough that I can teach someone else, or know enough so that I can talk to someone that knows someone, whatever I'm doing better? So I'm not afraid to dive into, say, Typeform to Zapier or Integromat to this or that, like connecting software, like things that have hindered me before, like, oh no, I don't have a CTO, like when you're starting out, right? Like, oh, like who's more technically savvy than me so that they can build my dream thing, like me, like how well, there's these no code tools. It's better that I watch new YouTube videos now and like try to be barely passable in what I'm doing. It's just like I'm not afraid. It's more of that. The
Yeah.
same kid that was tinkering around in MS DOS and like that.
Cheating
Like
on
I'm just still
MS-DOS.
a kid. Yeah, like how can I figure my hack my way around this new thing that I want to do and I want to accomplish, because it's been accomplished by someone else and there's a tutorial, like they're doing tutorials for it. So probably I could do it too. So I know my strengths and weaknesses. So it's more of that, like always teaching yourself. Yeah.
Great insights so far. Hey, one question that we had was, and we had this also on the previous episode, is like worst career mistakes to avoid. Like for you, what would those be? For those
Yeah.
that are starting out or in their design careers right now.
Yeah. Um, I was in the loop of freelancing because like, oh, I need money, I need to freelance. And then I always had like I made it an excuse, like, oh, up to the point that I was holding back my passions, or say for example UX Plus University, or UX this version of UX Plus University has been sitting in my head for like maybe 2 years, 3 years. But I was holding back because I'm gonna say I'm gonna hold like I'm gonna I need freelance. I need money first. But then, yeah, like sometimes you make it an excuse, and sometimes you're gonna be in a horrible spot that you're gonna feel like I wish I wasn't. I'm not doing things for money. So not all happiness comes from money. I guess that's my
Mm-hmm.
main thing, because you could probably spend the same amount of investment in yourself, and if you really believe in yourself, work hard, work your butt off. Um, it's uh, it's probably gonna pay off. If not, like try something else. So I've always wanted to do this. So don't, yeah, you have to put yourself. You just have to, like, as with any startup, you have to take the dive, or you have to dive without a parachute, like jump without a parachute, and then build your parachute as you're falling. Like you have to feel super uncomfortable. Like comfort, like I always say this, is it comfort? Comfort is the enemy of progress, or perfection is the enemy of progress. One of those two things.
Mm.
Something I say to like junior designers, or like people that are in my company. It's not always going to be comfortable. Though I do understand, like it's there's this, the generation now, it's very different. Like
Yeah.
there's an anti hustle and then a hustle culture. Like there's a divide. It's
Mm-hmm.
not always for everyone. So whatever I'm saying right now, disclaimer, CSJ disclaimer. I empathize with you guys. You don't have to do what I do, but I sleep at 6 a.m. sometimes when I'm passionate about like building a website. So
Yeah.
I know my limits. So it's just that, like, know your limits, know your situations. You don't have to sacrifice it if you don't feel like it. It's that. So that's my biggest mistake. It's more of like, if you really really want to do something, just do the smallest version of it. Because once I put like I put my money where my mouth is, which is like once I started designing the landing page in Figma, it was more of like building a habit. I already did this, so I should probably finish this, right? So the plan was November to launch UX Plus University. We finally launched it in March because of my own procrastination and my, oh, I need a project or I need this, but like you don't need to hold yourself back. Excuses will always be excuses. So yeah, yeah, that's one big thing that I'm gonna. Other than the mistake of like being nice to people, like be nice, care for people. That's my other
You mean the
mistake.
mistake of being mean to people?
Being mean. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. To have that you shared your own personal like mistakes, and that's really cool of you to do that. Are there mistakes? I'm curious. Are there you've noticed other people or common mistakes that you notice around other
Yeah.
people have been doing in their
Yeah,
career?
for sure.
Parang red flags. Yeah, yeah.
Especially not really, not necessarily red flags, but more of like with some guidance they can fix it possibly. But
Mm.
I see a lot of junior designers or people that are new and want impact right away, especially if like they come from um, like that expectation that I'm gonna come in, gonna put this feather in my hat that I joined this company. I need impact. I need to show like I was
What do you
that
mean by
like I was that
impact?
in
Sorry.
like I'm gonna design something from start to end, and then or I'm gonna build something or contribute to a company from start to end, and I'm gonna get credit for it. And then like
Mm,
that's not how real companies are. So
mm,
if you're just joining a new company, if you're a UX designer, UX design won't save the world. Like any of the roles, like if you're in a company, you're not gonna be the savior of that company. You have a role, you have an expectation. Of course, you can stand out, but like eventually but do your job really well before you like build leverage so that you can now use that as your like to propel whatever you need to do. But like you have to go through the motions. You have to do your work fast or either like do your work really well, qualities there, or like contribute beyond what's expected of you. But don't just come into a company and say, here's my suggestions for everything that you don't like you're it's not going to be welcome. Like a lot of young people come into the company expecting that, hey, this is what I think, and this like that's not gonna be that's great, but it's not gonna be welcome with open ears because whoever's in the company before you probably has so much more context and has zoomed out and zoomed in and zoomed out and zoomed in
True, true, true.
of
Wait,
all the
wait.
problems or
I
most of the problem.
wait.
Yeah.
I don't want this to be misunderstood as like just keep your mouth shut, right? But
Yeah.
what
Yeah, for
what
sure.
is the
But
advice
really,
here?
keep
Like
your mouth
I'm
shut.
okay.
Keep your
So
mouth shut. No, just kidding.
Ayan na yung
Just
mean na
kidding.
CSJ bumabalik eh.
so
No,
I'm
I
a
think it's
junior.
it,
I'm a fresh graduate. I go into a company. How do I behave in a way that can
ah.
be beneficial to me?
Yeah, so something that like I love when I see so like the opposite of it, which I can turn into advice,
Sure.
and I've seen this from really good junior designers. It's more of like I'm so one like they understand that a company is going to be ambiguous. It's not going to be laid out on a platter for you to absorb. Like whether you're a UX designer or whatever, it's going to be ambiguous because like that's the nature of people, human beings. They're busy with what they need to do. They want you to have as much context as you can, but you find you do that through you probably your own means. So I love when someone new comes in and interviews everyone or like takes time to understand what the different roles of different people are, like
Mm,
build
mm,
relationships.
mm,
Because now that they oh like I have my ear in this person's like role, like even though like say the UX design team never talks to X team or like that team, but then them going out of their way to understand their
What they do.
the different roles in the company like removes our blind spots to it. Being a UX team, you want to understand problems internally and also problems of your users. Like you want to research internally and you want to research externally, because you're building like better communications or paths of communication, so that essentially UX is not just fixing customers' problems. Like
Yeah.
when a customer comes in, you have to solve a problem of whoever like touches that problem, like whoever's involved with that
Right.
problem, whether it's like sales, customer support, collections, finance, whatever, right? Like you never know that they're struggling to do like work around the software you just built. So people like interview everyone, like have a chat with people, regardless if they're on the top of the chart or like the at the very bottom. Like that's going to give me as a design manager so much more context. So and that's like something we don't ask of everyone, but like I love when students early designers do that. Other than that, like yeah, like do you over communication, like show like, oh, this is what an advice from, I guess, our own class. Communicate, over communicate. Don't show your work. So the thought idea of the presentation, when me presentation, we have to do it 3 days from now. In presentation, we have to do it. A presentation is a surprise. You don't want surprises, because
Mm.
like you're gonna make it like no presentation day. It's gonna be American Idol. Whoever you're presenting to feel like they're judges. Here's my
Totoo.
judgment on what you
Yes,
presented.
yes, yes, yes.
So
That's very good advice.
don't make it a presentation. Make it like, have them be invested in your work very early on, and have them feel like it's their work that you're doing. Like
Yeah.
hey, I co-create with them, sketch with them, like have a workshop session with them, and then like make it their idea, so that when there's like, even if there's a presentation time, it feels arbitrary, and then they feel like, oh, like, oh, that's my idea, or like, oh, we already know what you're gonna present. That's awesome. It's more for like presentations for the sake of like the meeting, for the sake of the meeting, but they already know what you're presenting. So over communicate, over collaborate, or make them feel like it's their idea. Have people be not just be involved, have them be invested. So these are things we always tell our design students, because they're always asking like, what is it like to be in a UX design company or startup or agency? So we tell that, yeah.
That's very interesting because it goes against the usual notion of hide your work, make it perfect, then present it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
Mm.
Yeah.
okay. And I
Mahirap,
agree with
mahirap
it
yan.
completely. I agree with it completely. Show what you have, go from the draft, get early
Mhm.
feedback, return, keep the conversation lines open, and then arrive at the finish line together. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like collaboration or communication is super important regardless of what you're doing. It's um earn your way into not showing your work when you're like 10 years down the road, or like 15 years. But for most of your career, you have to collaborate with everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And that's part of, sorry Bert, just one more to add.
Go
I
ahead,
guess
go
that's
ahead.
also part of like managing up, right? Like I
Mm.
had this very good advice from one of my good mentors na you never go into a boardroom without knowing the results before even going to the boardroom, right? Meaning
Mm.
most if you want to have a good ano there and not be in a firing squad, dapat na communicate mo na yung gusto mong i-present even before that meeting, right? So you go with the stakeholders really, no? Those that are very
Mm.
vocal, have them as what you said, no? Parang be invested in what you are actually going to present. That's very important. Kasi yun nga, parang ayaw mong hindi mo alam yung result doon, nandun ka sa harap for everyone to see, right? And
Surprise.
if it's a
Yeah.
surprise tapos pangit, 'di ba? Or you're getting
Yeah.
very, you're getting a firing squad. It's the worst feeling. So I think
Yeah.
I can definitely agree with that advice.
Yeah. It might be hard if you're in an agency and there's a pitch process that's like built in. Oh, you have to
Yeah.
pitch, but then you have to work like do your versions of it even in that scenario. Like show early work, share by email, connect your Slack with their Slack, like whatever. Do what you can, or like have a Figma link from the very start so that
Yeah.
they can watch you. Like be the
Oo.
hovering art director
Oo.
while
Gusto ko
you
lang ng
design.
feedback mo before ko i-ano.
Yeah.
Parang ganun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
You were
vulnerable
saying
because
something,
like
right?
yeah.
Okay, I
Go
mean
ahead.
we're on the hour, so maybe we can end with this one. CSJ, what are the best career hacks you've seen people do with their design
Yeah.
career to advance it?
Yeah. Something that like I'm always impressed by, like there's this um designer that I hired because he joined 5 internships when he didn't need to. So he was he was gonna be more experienced than anybody else. So he
At the
knows
same time, wait,
probably
at the same time?
no throughout his years, like first year
Okay.
college, second year college, third year, and fourth year. Like he had 5 internships, which tells me as a hiring manager or like a or if you're talking to a recruiter or anywhere else, like oh he already knows how to work with people.
Yeah.
That's like baseline. The hardest thing to understand, like through a CV or a portfolio, right? Like you don't know if this is a normal person, and you
Totoo.
don't want to over invest. So like that experience pays well. Hacking is what else? Who hacked? Um, yeah, like just yeah, like do something for someone you admire, I guess. Yeah, like redesign their website, or like do something for them for free, or if they care for something, do something for that. Like it's your a good way to get their attention. Might not lead to anywhere, but yeah, like just do it for your own amusement. Like don't expect anything from it. So yeah, that's a good hack too. Essentially, yeah, just be yourself. Just be um at the end of the day, like these are all great advice for us because we lived it. It might
Yeah.
not apply to you. Again, like be empathetic. That's the best hack. Like understand people. Read behavioral psychology books. That's what I'm reading right now, a lot of like understanding people. Yeah, irrationally rational or something like
Rational.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Dan's
So
book.
like things like that. Yeah, that Dan Ariely, or yeah, understand people, like understand what their motivations are, and try to help them or not. Up to you. But yeah, it's a good hack. If you know how to build relationships, it's gonna get you further than whatever skill you have.
You know what I loved about this episode is actually I had the initial impression that you got where you are because of so many like hacks. Like you shortcut your way around things. And to be honest, like after this episode, I realized like no, you just really put in a lot of work for a really long time.
Yeah.
And always learning and always learning. And I think that's really great because that's one of the things that most people are looking out for right now. Like, what's the fastest way? What's a shortcut? What's the thing that I can like hack my way around?
Yeah.
And then here you are saying, no, dude, like you can join UX Plus. That will definitely kickstart your career.
Start your
For
career.
sure.
That's actually yun yung pinaka-hack talaga.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then there's like,
Actually,
the normal, like just put in a lot of work over a long time, do your best over a really long time, years, and then you will work your way up there. Right? Be
Yeah.
nice
yeah,
to
for sure.
people,
Yeah.
understand people, deliver value.
Yeah,
Classic,
don't
classic.
expect anything. Yeah, don't expect anything.
Yeah.
Just give. It'll probably come back or not. It's fine. Like be happy with that. And yeah, again, like I agree. Join UX Plus University because it's free. It's free until you get hired. Like the thing about that, like it's so funny, but we're doing things. We're doing workshops, talks, lectures every day, and like we're coming up with it the week before, and it's like, oh, like I should probably charge for this elsewhere, like I could sell this. But we're just like we really want the students to absorb everything. Like I created a 2-hour UI design crash course like last Wednesday,
Mm.
presented it on Thursday. It was like, oh, like I should probably do this separately and sell it. But then, like, yeah, all for the like in the spirit of giving, because it's gonna
Yeah,
return back, hopefully, for
true.
with our students.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Trust the process. Keep grinding,
Yes.
guys, and then you'll get your break. Anyways, good, very good discussion tonight. Very good episode. Thank you. Ayan, there's a lot of appreciation on the chat. Thank you. How to be you, po.
Hi,
Good
John.
evening. So, thank you everyone who joined us this evening. CSJ, any final where can they
Yeah.
find you online? UX Plus once
Yeah.
again. One more plug before
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah, you can Google UX Plus or UX Plus conference. We're launching the UX Plus conference website this week. It's gonna be the first announcement. It's gonna be 4 days. We have this is secret as well. Like you have a scoop. We have the VP of design of
Ooh.
Adobe as the speaker. We have also the author of Sprint, Jake Knapp, as one of our speakers.
Mm.
So remove the www there because you might get somewhere wrong, but it's essentially university.uxpl.us. That's UX Plus University. And then UX Plus Conference, which will launch, like us on Facebook, just type UX Plus. And you'll find out, who the other speakers are outside of Jake Knapp and the VP of Design of Adobe.
Awesome.
Cool. Hey, thank you once again, everyone. Thank you, CSJ, for joining us tonight. More appreciation in the chat. So I hope you guys learned a lot from our guest speaker today and me and Albert. We'll see you on the next episode, same time next Saturday, 7 p.m. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
What I've seen that hinders a lot of people in general is they believe that doing their job well actually gets them promoted.
How would you demystify AI for a 10-year-old?
It's actually harder to explain AI to an older person. Hi, welcome to CTOsDiscuss.
So you want to work in big tech companies like Google and Facebook, or create your own startup like Airbnb and Instagram? OmniQuotient is here to help. OmniQuotient is an online learning platform where you can learn something new from prominent developers every day while creating meaningful connections with them. Just go to omniquotient.com. Follow the topics that you want to learn and the developers you want to learn from. Share your tips and tricks in coding and interact with other developers. Join the OmniQuotient community today.